Chapter 1. The Quiet Town. The phone rang insistently in the dead of night. Sheriff Thomas Randall glanced at the clock. 2:37 a.m. He rubbed his eyes and picked up the receiver. "Sheriff's office," he answered gruffly. "Sheriff, there's something wrong with Mrs. Thompson," the trembling voice on the other end whispered. "I heard screams coming from her house." Introduction to the Carroll Sisters. Middletown, Wisconsin, 1957. A quiet town where everyone knew each other, where doors were left unlocked and children played freely in the streets. But beneath this idyllic facade lurked a dark secret. Margaret and Madeline Carroll were identical twins, indistinguishable to most except for their subtle differences in demeanor. Margaret was the outgoing one, always smiling, helping in the local church, volunteering at the community center. Madeline was quieter, more reserved, but equally beloved by the townsfolk. Their past was shrouded in mystery. Orphaned at a young age, they had been raised in a series of foster homes before settling in Middletown 5 years ago. They ran a small herbal shop known for its unusual remedies and potions. First victim. Mrs. Eleanor Thompson, a 72-year-old widow, was found dead in her bed the next morning. The coroner ruled it a heart attack, but whispers began to spread through the town. Why had she been screaming in her sleep? Why did she have an unusual purple rash on her skin? Little did the townsfolk know that this was only the beginning. The Carroll sisters had chosen their first victim carefully, someone whose death would seem natural, whose suspicious symptoms would be attributed to old age. Their method was subtle, almost elegant. They used rare herbs and concoctions, poisoning their victims slowly, creating symptoms that mimicked natural illnesses. And they had a list, a carefully curated list of people they deemed undesirable in their perfect town. The sheriff's investigation would soon begin. But for now, the Carroll sisters continued their charitable work, smiling at their neighbors and planning their next move. Chapter 2. The Perfect Crime. The second victim. 2 weeks after Mrs. Thompson's death, Mr. Henry Walters, the town's bank manager, was found dead in his study. The coroner's report listed heart failure as the cause of death. But something didn't add up. Margaret and Madeline had been frequent visitors to the bank, praising Mr. Walters' efficiency and professionalism. They had even gifted him a special herbal tea blend for his nervous disposition. The poison. The sisters had perfected their method. They used a rare South American herb mixed with common ingredients, creating a slow-acting poison that mimicked natural symptoms. The key was in the dosage, just enough to weaken the victim's heart without raising immediate suspicion. Public reaction. The town was in shock. Whispers grew louder, but no one could imagine who would want to harm such respected members of the community. The sheriff began to notice a pattern. Both victims had been well-wishers of the Carroll sisters. Investigation begins. Sheriff Randall requested a second autopsy for Mr. Walters. The results were inconclusive, but he noticed something odd. Both victims had unusual purple marks on their skin, similar to allergic reactions. The sisters' alibi. Margaret and Madeline maintained their alibi flawlessly. They were always seen in public, helping others, and running their herbal shop. Their reputation as kind-hearted women grew stronger with each passing day. The sisters had chosen their next target, Mayor Thompson, the town's leader who had recently questioned their herbal business practices. They prepared a special health tonic for him, unaware that their perfect crime was about to unravel. Chapter 3. A Chain of Death. Mayor Thompson's demise. 3 weeks after Mr. Walters' death, Mayor Thompson fell ill. He had been suffering from insomnia and had accepted a special herbal remedy from the Carroll sisters. Within days, he was dead. Officially, from natural causes. Public outcry. The town was in uproar. 3 prominent citizens dead within 2 months. Rumors spread like wildfire, but no one dared accuse the beloved Carroll sisters. Sheriff's suspicions. Sheriff Randall connected the dots. All victims had received gifts from the sisters. He requested toxicology reports for all 3 deaths, but the results were inconclusive due to the herb's rare nature. The next target. The sisters had their sights on Dr. Elizabeth Parker, the town's only doctor who had questioned the unusual symptoms of the victims. They planned to eliminate her before she could connect the dots. The doctor's discovery. Dr. Parker had noticed the purple rash on all victims. She began researching rare herbs and their effects. Unbeknownst to her, the sisters were already planning her demise. They prepared a special gift basket for her, containing their signature herbal tea and other poisoned items. But this time, their perfect plan had a flaw. Dr. Parker had a habit of documenting everything. Chapter 4. Investigation underway. Dr. Parker's suspicions. Dr. Elizabeth Parker began to connect the dots. She noticed the same unusual symptoms in all victims and began researching rare herbs. Unbeknownst to her, the Carroll sisters were already planning her demise. The poisoned gift. The sisters delivered a special gift basket to Dr. Parker's office, containing their signature herbal tea and other poisoned items. But this time, their perfect plan had a flaw. Dr. Parker had a habit of documenting everything. Sheriff's breakthrough. Sheriff Randall received a mysterious package at his office. Dr. Parker's research notes, mailed anonymously. They contained detailed descriptions of the purple rash and connections to rare herbs. The stakeout. The sheriff set up surveillance on the Carroll sisters' herbal shop. He noticed unusual deliveries and secretive behavior. Evidence began to pile up, but he needed concrete proof. The turning point. One evening, the sisters were seen disposing of something in the town's abandoned warehouse. The sheriff and his deputy followed them, ready to make their move. But the sisters were one step ahead. They had prepared an escape plan, and their next move would be their most dangerous yet. Chapter 5. The Web of Lies. The warehouse discovery. Inside the abandoned warehouse, Sheriff Randall and his deputy found something chilling. A makeshift laboratory filled with vials of herbs, concoctions, and unmarked bottles. Among the evidence were handwritten notes detailing dosages and effects on different victims. The escaped sisters. The Carroll sisters managed to escape during the raid. They had anticipated this moment, having prepared an alternate exit route. However, their escape was not flawless. They left behind critical evidence that would later seal their fate. Public panic. News of the discovery spread like wildfire through Middletown. Residents began to question everything they knew about the beloved sisters. People who had received gifts from their herbal shop started experiencing symptoms similar to the victims. The investigation deepens. Sheriff Randall brought in forensic experts to analyze the evidence found in the warehouse. They discovered traces of a rare South American herb mixed with common ingredients, creating a deadly cocktail. The breakthrough. A crucial breakthrough came when a former foster parent of the Carroll sisters contacted the sheriff's office. She revealed that Margaret and Madeline had a dark history. They had experimented with herbs and potions even as children, causing the death of a fellow foster child. The manhunt begins. The sisters were now fugitives. The entire state was on high alert. Bounty hunters and law enforcement combed the countryside, searching for any trace of the elusive twins. But the Carroll sisters were masters of disguise and deception, making them extremely difficult to track down. The investigation entered its most critical phase as the sheriff's department received anonymous tips and leads, each one bringing them closer to uncovering the sisters' whereabouts. Little did they know that the twins had already planned their next move, a final, desperate attempt to evade capture. Chapter 6. The Final Act. The Twins' Plan. Margaret and Madeline had fled to a remote cabin in the woods, where they continued their poison-making operations. They had a new target in mind, the sheriff himself. The trap. The sisters sent a package to Sheriff Randall's office, a special herbal remedy for his chronic headaches. Unbeknownst to them, the package was intercepted by Deputy Harris, who had grown suspicious of the sisters' generosity. The standoff. The sheriff's department traced the package's origin to the abandoned cabin. A SWAT team was deployed, but the sisters were ready. They had booby-trapped the cabin with poisonous gases and hidden escape routes. The showdown. During the standoff, Margaret and Madeline revealed their true motives. They believed they were cleansing the world of undesirable elements, creating their own version of a perfect society. The arrest. In a dramatic confrontation, both sisters were captured. They had underestimated the determination of the sheriff's department and the strength of community bonds. Their elaborate web of lies had finally unraveled. The evidence. The cabin yielded more evidence: journals detailing their victims, maps of potential targets, and formulas for their deadly concoctions. The case was now airtight, with enough evidence to secure a conviction. The sisters were transferred to the county jail, where they remained defiant, still believing in the righteousness of their actions. The trial would reveal the full extent of their crimes and the dark motivations behind their seemingly idyllic facade. Chapter 7. The Evidence Unveiled. Autopsy Reports. The medical examiner released detailed reports on all victims. Each had traces of the same rare herb in their systems. The poison had been administered gradually, causing organ failure while mimicking natural illnesses. Forensic analysis. The forensic team presented their findings: handwritten journals detailing each victim's dosage, poison formulas, lists of potential future targets, letters revealing the sisters' twisted ideology, witness testimonies. Former foster parents, neighbors, and business associates testified about the sisters' behavior, their obsession with herbs and potions, secretive deliveries, unusual reactions to criticism, manipulative behavior towards victims. The defense strategy. The sisters' defense team argued insanity plea, claims of coercion between twins, allegations of police misconduct, questions about the reliability of toxicology reports. Prosecution's response. The prosecution presented overwhelming evidence: eyewitness accounts, physical evidence from the cabin, testimony from forensic experts, documentation of the sisters' history. The trial entered its final stages, with both sides preparing their closing arguments. The fate of Margaret and Madeline Carroll hung in the balance. Chapter 8. The Trial. Opening Statements. The courtroom was packed as the trial began. Judge Alexander presided over the proceedings with a stern demeanor. Prosecution's case. The state presented detailed timeline of events, evidence of premeditation, testimony from surviving victims, expert analysis of poison delivery methods. Defense's counter. The defense argued mental instability, history of trauma, claims of self-defense, alleged police fabrication of evidence. The sisters' testimony. Margaret and Madeline took the stand, presenting themselves as victims of society. They claimed their actions were justified to cleanse the town. Their testimony was filled with contradictions and inconsistencies. Closing arguments. The prosecution delivered a powerful closing statement, connecting all the evidence and presenting a clear picture of premeditated murder. The defense pleaded for mercy, citing the sisters' troubled past. The jury began deliberations, weighing the evidence presented over weeks of testimony. Chapter 9. Verdict and Sentencing. The verdict. After 3 days of deliberation, the jury returned with their decision. Guilty on all counts of murder. Guilty of conspiracy. Guilty of possession of illegal substances. Sentencing. The judge handed down the maximum penalty: death sentence for both sisters. No possibility of parole. Confiscation of all assets. Public reaction. The town breathed a collective sigh of relief. The Carroll sisters' reign of terror was finally over. Victims' families found closure, though the pain remained. Last statements. Margaret and Madeline refused to show remorse. Their final statements were filled with defiance and continued belief in their twisted ideology. The sisters were transferred to death row, awaiting their final appeal. Chapter 10. Epilogue. Execution. 2 years after the trial, the sentences were carried out. The Carroll sisters met their end, still unrepentant to the last moment. Aftermath. Middletown rebuilt itself. New safety protocols implemented. Increased vigilance in community. Support groups formed for victims' families. The herbal shop was demolished. Lessons learned. The case changed law enforcement procedures. Stricter regulations on herbal remedies. Improved toxicology testing. Enhanced community reporting systems. Better training for detectives. Final reflections. The town's memory of the Carroll sisters faded over time. Their legacy remained as a cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked ambition and the importance of community vigilance. The case files were sealed, but the lessons learned remained etched in the town's history. A reminder that even in the quietest of towns, darkness can lurk beneath the surface. And so ended the story of the Carroll sisters, whose quest for a perfect town ended in their own destruction.